Managing people is hard, but sometimes firing them is even harder. I remember the first time I walked into that office, sat down in my chair, had the employee across from me, and my hands were literally shaking uncontrollably. I was sweating. I don't know why I was so nervous. Maybe it was the thought that this person has bills to pay, they have a family to feed. But at the same time, we both know that it just wasn't a good fit anymore, right? Sometimes as employers, especially when we're new to the business and managing people in that business, like we'll hire the first person that walks through the door, not knowing if they're actually a good fit because we never had an interview before. We really don't know what a good candidate looks like. And we want to give people chances like, we took the chance on ourselves to go for that business. And so we believe in effort and rewarding loyalty and thinking that being kind is being fair and really understanding. And I really had to understand and learn the hard way that absorbing chaos as a leader doesn't make it disappear. It just moves it into the business and it makes you stressed out. So I have had a lot of situations. And if you're an employer, you've probably heard a lot of these as well and heard every excuse in the book, from people calling in to, being late multiple times. I had one of the last girls I had to let go. She told me that the reason that she started showing up 5 to 10 minutes late is because school season. And I'm like, hey, no, that's not really an excuse. You can show up 10 minutes before your shift or leave 10 minutes early just in case that happens, right? Adjust your schedule, adjust your effort a little bit. I had another employee who was literally milking the clock, like during the interview process, interviewed great, answered all the questions correctly. She said that she was a people person and she could get things done quick and we would never have to tell her twice. Anyway, she starts working and we notice that she's very quiet and reserved, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? She's getting the work done. However, she would get the work done so quick and we didn't have to tell her twice, but she would just sit on the couch. First few times I walked into the lobby, passed her. I didn't think anything of it. I thought she was just on a break. And I noticed more times than not that when I did walk into the lobby, that she was sitting there a lot. So I started asking the employees, because at this point I was more managing the business from the outside, right? Not working in it anymore. They're like, yeah, she kind of does that a lot. She sits around. So I pull her into the office. I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, well, I get my work done so fast, I don't know what to do next. And I'm like, okay, but you told me during the interview process that you didn't need to be micromanaged. So I told her that we would work on a list, right? A contingency plan for her to keep her busy, willing to work with her. And the next day, it happened again. And so I'm like, okay, something's not right here. I go to the video feed because I record the entire facility, 24/7 surveillance, which I highly recommend, by the way, especially if you have a brick and mortar. And I go back the day of and the day before, and I see that she's downstairs on her phone, just kind of scrolling for 20 minutes, goes upstairs and lays down for an hour. So for an hour and 20 minutes, and this is shortly after an hour after she clocked in, she was literally doing nothing. And then she would go do a little work and then she would sit down for an hour. So it was just constant, right? So I pulled her into the office and let her go. That one was pretty easy. I had another employee who was just not very good at his job. There's no way to put it. He was not good at his job. We gave him lots of chances. Franchisor came up to work with the trainers that we were working with at the time. And he was like, yeah, I wouldn't have this employee in front of my customers or working with the animals, right? And I already had that gut feeling. And a month or 2 months before that, I had put him on a performance plan. So we're writing him up when it makes sense. Again, at this time, still very lenient, not really enforcing the rules that we set out. We're like, hey, if you improve, then we'll remove this plan, okay? The first time we did that only lasted 30 days, took him off. He really improved. Second time we did it, we just kept seeing the inconsistencies, and it would be us having to remind him multiple times not to do a certain thing, and he would just keep on doing it. And it got frustrating, and we kept trying to wait it out, hoping that he would improve. Well, fast forward a little bit, I observe him in an interaction with the customer. A lot of what he was doing was stuff that we tell our customers not to do. Okay. It was that moment that I realized that he just needed to go. So I pull him into the office the next day. I have the conversation with him. He tries to come back and, ask for another chance. And I'm like, no, it is what it is. We gave so many chances. This is just not a good fit, right? 2 or 3 months later, we get a letter in the mail saying that he filed a claim to us from the city. We look at the claim and can't talk specifics because we're still going through it, but it was just an obscene claim. We have the paperwork, we have the receipts to prove it. It was justified. We just documented the whole process. But we're still pigeonholed as an employer, having to come up with $5,000 to $6,000 in attorney fees, which is crazy. So we ran into a similar situation with another employee. This one started off really, really great. And then just things started happening that probably shouldn't happen. And it made us afraid to fire him because of what the last employee did and filing an unjustified claim, And we, again, started documenting, went through the whole process, gave so many chances. He stuck around way longer than he should have. If we didn't have that situation with that first employee that filed against us, we would have let this next employee go a lot sooner, right? So I start doing research and really refining my employee handbook. We have an NDA in there. We don't want them to blast us on social media or talk negatively because, again, we're very, very fair, extremely fair, which leads me to the first employee that I fired, that I let go, who filed against us. Actually, he had his friends and family write negative Google reviews on us that we still can't get removed to this day, even though it was his fault. Anyway, I digress. So I tighten up the employee handbooks. It is probably at this point a 30-page document. It goes over every single rule. It goes over what late means, how many times you can be late before you get written up, what's a fireable offense. I thought of everything, right, with the ChatGPT. I had everybody sign it, including, of course, the employee that we wanted to let go. And I don't really understand if he knew it was because of him, because it wasn't. It was an accumulation of a lot of the employees that we had worked with in the past, but he ended up quitting the next day. And as an employer, when somebody quits on their own terms, it's a lot harder for them to file a claim against you, right? So that was a huge relief. He was a great guy. So was the other guy before him. Great guys, but they just were not a good fit for the role. So the next employee was actually really shortly after. And I think that there was some irritation that the second employee was, getting special treatment because he was late all the time. He would call out all these things. And I feel like she thought that she had to pick up the slack too much. And at one point we were kind of asking her to report back to us what she was seeing when she worked with him. So I think that rubbed off on her, and she was like, oh, if he's getting away with all those things, I can too. And that's when we noticed that she started being a little more late, not doing the things that we asked her, making excuses. I would always check in with her too. I would ask her, hey, do you feel like you're burning out? Because I noticed that you're not training as much. And she was like, yeah, but I think I'll be okay, right? Not even 2 weeks later, one of the general managers is in the office for about 10, 15 minutes. And we noticed that she had marked a couple of tasks that were completed. She put that she complete them. And then we're like, this doesn't sound right, because those tasks should take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes a piece, and she got them done in 10. So that was the first flag, first indication. And we had noticed that the quality that she was producing was starting to dip a little bit, right? And then so I go back to the cameras. I look on the days that she's working alone, because on the days that she was working with somebody, she would actually pick up the pace. But days she was working alone, I looked at the feeds. I looked at 3 days, solo days, and she would mark that she completed 12 tasks, but on video footage, I caught her only doing 4 of them. In between, she was literally on her phone all day. And employees started noticing that too and reporting it to us. So since the new employee handbook had been rolled out, it was so much easier for us to get rid of her and just fire her. You literally just pulled her in the office, said, hey, we have serious concerns about your performance. We ran back the video feed and noticed that there was a lot of inconsistencies with what you were reporting. And that's all we had to tell her, okay? And my mind is so much more at ease now, because I know that if we have another difficult situation or a difficult employee, that it's just a matter of pointing into that employee handbook and letting them know, hey, this is just not going to be a good fit anymore. And I know that that's okay. You don't always have to try or want to be the good guy, right? Set clear expectations and protect your good employees, protect the morale. If you let a bad employee slide too many times, your good employee is going to pick up off of that, and they're going to try and see what they can get away with, because maybe they resent that employee. Maybe they resent you as an employer, right? Bad employees hate clarity, and tolerated behavior becomes company culture. Again, if you're letting somebody slide too many times, other employees are going to think that it's okay to slide. Leadership and management really gets easier when the rules are written and people know what what's expected of them. If you want to build generational wealth, you really have to build a business that can survive those uncomfortable decisions, and not only set expectations with your team, but set expectations with your managers, and make sure that your managers are enforcing those expectations, right? Again, it is scary to fire somebody, your first person. Heck, even now when I have to do it, it makes me still a little bit nervous, just because what I have experienced. But there's that piece in the back of my mind that I did everything right. I did what I was supposed to. And my business and my future is better because of it. So take what you will, and make sure that you're documenting. You crush that employee handbook and that SOP, and we will see you in the next one.